Welcome back to the tutorial, and we're still on functions, and I want to show you one more thing about functions before we move on to something else, even though we'll still always get to use functions. Okay, so far we've seen how to execute code within the body of a function, and we've also seen how we can pass arguments, but there's something else we need to know. The values that we pass into a function are normally used within the function, and it doesn't go outside this function. And sometimes you might want to get some results from your function and use it outside from within the body of your function. And in that case, it becomes necessary for you to find a way for a function to send a value back to your regular program execution. And it's actually possible for you to do that. The way we do this is to return a value. Now, you can do all sorts of processing in your function code, and when you are done, you can return one value back to the part of your program that called the function. And let's just see how this works. So we still have our say hello function here, but let's do something a bit different. Okay, so first off, I will get rid of the say hello calls. I will leave the other function for now, but I would add a new function. I will call it is even number. Now, is even number is a function that will take one argument of a number. Okay, and we can do our processing in here. Okay, so what I want to do is even number will be a function that takes in any number, and it will check if that number is an even number or not. Now, I hope you haven't forgotten our arithmetic and logical operators already. If not, you can actually revisit that video just to get an idea of how logical and arithmetic operators work. So, I will first of all start up the way we've been writing our code before, which is document.write. Here we want to print the result of checking if num is an even number. And how do we check it an even number? First of all, what's an even number? An even number is a number that is divisible by 2 without a remainder. And so if you divide the number, you don't have any, the remainder is 0. It means that it's an even number. Remember, we have this modulus operator which just returns the remainder. So basically, if we do num and get the remainder when it is divided by 2, it should be 0, and if it is 0, that means it's an even number. So I'll compare this with 0. Okay, so any number we pass to this function, if the remainder when divided by 2 is 0, that means it's an even number, and we should get either true or false. So let me just do some tests. It's even number. I'll call it on 10, for instance, and I'll call it again on, let's say, 17. Okay, save, and when we refresh, you can see the first is true, the second is false, meaning 10 is an even number, 17 is not an even number. Alright, so this works fine for us so far. But what of a case where we want to do something with that result? Right now, we can only do something with this result within this function. What if we want to continue doing something with that result, of whether it's an even number or not, right here? We need a way to get this value from here back to our main program that's being executed here. And the way we can do that, like I said earlier, is to use return. So rather than do document.write in this function, I'll just get our value, okay, or the processing we're doing there. And the way you return your value is just to say return followed by the value you want. In this case, I will just for demo purposes, I'll just return hello. Okay, and let me just bring back this as a comment so that it doesn't run. Notice it's a comment. Okay, so and we just return hello and save. When I refresh, there is no error. We just are not printing anything. So what happens? Right now we are returning hello from this function, but we are not doing anything with that value. We are not printing it out. So we need to print it out. We can print it out directly or use a variable, and that's what I want to do. So look at this. If we had a variable var, let's call it greeting, equals to hello. Okay, we can actually do document.writeLine and print our variable greeting. So what happens? The value hello gets replaced into where the variable is. Now, when we have a function call, this function goes and gets executed and it returns a value. So what that means is this function call now gets us a valid value, and if it is a valid value, it means that it can be stored into a variable. So that means that we can actually take its even number and replace it here. Okay, now this is something different because before now we've only been assigning values to a variable, but now we are assigning a function call to a variable. And don't get confused or don't overthink it. We're simply just saying call this function. This function returns a value. I want you to take that value it returns and put it into the variable, because this now becomes a value after it's executed. So in this case, its even number returns hello. The value hello comes here. We assign that value to greeting and we print out greeting, and we should get hello. So when we refresh, we should see hello. Now that's done, but this is not what I want is even number to do. I want it to tell us if it's an even number or not. Okay, so rather than just returning hello, I want to return what we printed out before, which is whether the number is an even number or not. So I will take that code now and return it here. Okay, so what are we returning? We're returning the fact that if we get the remainder for 2, if it is equals to 0, then we should say yes, this is an even number. Otherwise it will say false, that it's not an even number. So if I should save that now and refresh, get this, true. So what happens? We call the function, it gets executed here. There's no remainder from 10 gets sent to num. Now num is 10 and there's no remainder when you divide it by 2. So this becomes true. It returns that value true here. True gets set into the variable greeting, and then we print out greeting, and so we can see true being displayed to us. Now this is really powerful because it means that you can actually get output from your modules. Before, we just had a function like this. Whatever function, we could only send values into the function. We process those values within the function. We use them within the function, and that was the end. We go back to our program. But now we are seeing we can send values into a function, do some processing with it, and then return some value back to our program that we can use for more processing or just for our outputs.